The third access object that we want to go over are forms. And simply put, forms are nothing more than tables with a facelift. For example, if you open up any table, you've got the same face or layout where up at the top you have the name of the fields from left to right, and then below that the data for that field, like the customer name, address, city, and so on. In any case, in forms, you don't have to have that layout. You can go ahead and rearrange that. Now again, thinking about the first training video that you watched where you got that pyramid, at the bottom you've got your tables of data, because tables are the only object where you can store data. Without any tables, you don't have data. Without data, you don't have a database. Once you have the foundation, your tables of data like we do here, we can go ahead and base our query upon the tables of data. In other words, pull in data here and use criteria to go ahead and narrow down the search for the records in the tables. And then forms and reports can be based upon either a table directly here or upon a table that the query is based upon, or two or more tables, because when it comes to creating forms or reports that are based upon two or more tables, what I would do is create a query, as we learned in our query training video, that we can go ahead and pull in two or more related tables, make sure that those tables have a relationship into our query, and then we can go ahead and base the form or report upon that query that has those two tables. A good example would be where I could go ahead and pull in my customers and orders table into a query. So that way for every customer I can see their corresponding orders. But to keep it simple here, I just based this form, I call it my customers form because it's based upon the customers table, just upon one table, okay? So when I double click and open it up, right off the bat you can see that I gave it a facelift. It's not the same face as the customers table, the typical layout in a table, which is from left to right, with the labels up at the top. Instead I've got the labels to the left hand side, and I've got my data field stacked. So I've got the customer ID with the data field here, stacked upon the phone label, and so on. Now, is that helpful? Well, it depends. I mean, if you're like me and you don't have a huge 50-inch monitor, if you go back to your table and you got a lot of fields, you have to scroll over to see all the fields, where in my form I can go ahead and stack them and keep them all within view here and not have to scroll over to the right. Not only that, but in the tables it shows you a list of all the records that are available. Here, it has all the records, but you can only view them one at a time. In fact, down at the bottom you got the same record navigation bar as you do in the table, as we covered in an earlier training video, so I can advance by clicking on the next record button to go from 1 to 2 of 14, or back 1 of 14, or we can click on the outer button here to go to the last record, or the outer one to go back to the first record. In addition to the layout here, I can go ahead and design the form. You've got your form view and the design view, where you can go ahead and design how you want your form to be viewed, which is like this, where I've got the labels to the left-hand side and the fields stacked like that. You also have the datasheet view. Click on that, and if for whatever reason you need to go back to a datasheet view-like format, again like the tables and also the queries where you have the fields up at the top from left to right, and then the data below, well, that's simple enough, right? Just a simple click here. And then we also have the layout view and the design view. Now with the layout view, we'll go over that in a later training video, is the way that you can go ahead and drag your fields around, the operative word being layout, to lay out your form. You can do that in the design view. So the difference between the two is this is limited to just moving the fields around basically, where design view you can not only move the fields around and lay it out, you can also add more functionality to your forms, do more coding and things like that. But if you just need to mess with the layout, moving fields around, you don't need to do any coding or things like that. Use the layout view in any case. So back to our form view, and just like your tables in the datasheet view, in the form view you got a lot of the same options when it comes to navigating through your records. In other words, again, you got your record navigation bar down below as you do in your tables. Also, up at the top in the Home tab in the Sort and Filter group, that was available in our tables, the datasheet view. You also have available in the form view here. You can click on the Filter button, do sorting, do filter by selection. In fact, if we want to go ahead and come down here in the state field, you can go ahead and filter for that field, like let's say of the 14 records, how many clients or customers do we have from the state of Connecticut? Or you can advance to the next record and say, how about from Montana? You can either go ahead and right click on that field and say, let's do a filter by selection where it equals MT, or let me click off in a blank area. You can come up here, click on the filter, gives you a list of all the values available in that field. You can uncheck them all, or find out how many clients we have in the state of Arizona and California. Click OK. Well, just two. One from California, one from Arizona. And you've got the toggle filter option here as you do in the datasheet view. You see where it's highlighted down below. It doesn't tell me which field has been filtered, but if I click on it, It goes back to and displays all the records that I originally started with, but if I want to go ahead and filter it, click on it again, and it goes back to the filter being applied. Again, to which field? Well, we don't know. So if you want to go ahead and unfilter it, you can either find a field. If you're not sure which field, just start on one and right click and go down to see if you can find the clear filter. If it's not available, it means that that field has not been filtered. Right click, you'll find it here because we filtered the state. Instead of right clicking on all the fields, you can just come up here on the Home tab to the Sort and Filter group, click on the Advanced drop down arrow and not mess with it, just clear all the filters, okay? And we're back to where we started, 14 records. You can also do sorting, so if I want to sort my customers by name, the first record here begins with an S for star. So if we want to sort ascendingly, I can either right click and say A to Z, or come up here on the Home tab to the Sort and Filter group ascending, whatever works for you, A to Z. So it begins with the A's, in this case the client that I have that's towards that end of the alphabet, the upper end, begins with B for big, and click and go to the C's for candy, D's, and so on. And then of course to remove the filter sort, I can come up here and click on it to remove it. How about finding a record? For example, let's say I want to find the customer. Customer calls in and says, oh, we updated our phone number. It's like, oh crud, I quickly got to find that. So to do that, just go ahead and come up here on the Home tab to the Find group, click on Find. It's the same thing that I went over when we worked on our tables. You can click on the Find button, or the shortcut key is Control F. And then it says, what do you want to find? Well, I want to go ahead and find, let's say it's the Disney company they called, and they've got a new phone number that I want to update here. Now it says down below, what field do we want to look in? Is it the current field? I don't know which field I'm in. Just go ahead and click on it. And that's going to be the current field now, the customer name. So that took care of that. Or you can click cancel, click in the field, and then go ahead and when you pull it up, the find and replace, you know that you're in that field. Do you want to match the whole field where it has to match exactly what you typed in here, has to contain Disney, CO dot, or just any part of it? So for example, if I come up here and I go, let me delete company. I know it's Disney. I don't know if it's company, Inc., Incorporated, whatever. Just any part of that, any customer name that has Disney in it. Then click Find Next, and you'll see it found Disney in the customer name Disney CO, and it's got that highlighted. Great. Let's click Find Next again to see if we have any more. It says no, you only found one, which would make sense. We want to keep our customer names. They should all be unique and not have the same name, but if you had a field that you want to search through, like maybe city, you want to be able to find how many customers are in the same city, you can go ahead and do search and click Find and keep clicking Find until you toggle through all of them as you're bouncing from one city to the next, if you have more than one customer that is in the same city. And then finally, when we want to enter in a new record or make any changes to the data in the form here, again, this form is based upon the customer's tables, so what we do in here, any changes or any additions, new records, it'll add them or update them to the table that it's based upon. So if I come down here, we got the record navigation bar. To create a new blank record, click on that button. So it's going to record 15 of 15 because we already have 14, so this is going to be number 15. We've got the customer ID, which is the primary key field. Remember, it can't contain any blanks. Also, it can't have any duplicates. So this, again, is based upon the table. So whatever in the table is going to be found in here because it's linked to it. If I leave it blank, let's go ahead and enter in all the other information. And again, notice that when I type in the phone number, how it pulls up the mask. We talked about this in an earlier training video. It's just pulling up what was designed in our table there. And I'll show you how to do that in another training video. So I'll just go ahead and enter in the phone number, hit the tab key. Now when I hit the tab key, it advances me from one field to the next. If I need to go back to the field, instead of picking my fingers up off the keyboard and clicking back to that field, let me hit the tab key so I'm back in city. You can hold down the shift key and hit tab. With the shift key held down, hitting tab advances to the previous field. Hit the tab key to advance to the next field or moving forward. Now you'll notice that in the customer forms, just like the Datasheet View, when it comes to entering in our records in any of the data sheets found in the tables, queries, and also forms, you got the pencil. The dot 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 with the pencil means that it's in edit mode, or in this case, we're creating a new record, and we haven't saved it. As long as you see it, it means the record hasn't been saved yet, so to go ahead and save it, I'm going to hold down the shift key and hit enter. Again, this is based upon the table, and in the table, the customer ID is assigned the primary key, so it says, hey, you can't leave it blank. Click okie dokie, click in there. Go ahead and type in a customer ID. Well, what customer ID am I going to enter in? If you had it on auto number, automatically generating an ID, it would be unique and I wouldn't have to worry about it. But that's okay because I can't have any duplicates. If I have a system that my company has, I can go ahead and type in a new customer name. You can also have Lookup Field, so I can click on the drop-down arrow and see what customer ID is available. Or I can come over and see customer ID, scroll over to the left-hand side, just to make sure for this example that I find a duplicate, 32758, 32758, Shift Enter, again, no duplicates. So let's go ahead and make sure it's unique, 33,000. Shift Enter, it accepts it. Now remember, any records that I create in this table or any fields that I update should update the customers table. So if I go back to the customers table, didn't work, I lied. No, I'm kidding. Because I already have the table open, it needs to be refreshed. So up here in the records group, of course on the home tab, click on the refresh button. There we go, it added it. Otherwise, if I had it closed and I created a record, when I pulled it up, it would be available. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.